So good morning, Councillor McMullen and
Morning.
Councillor Edwards.
Morning.
Morning, gents.
Morning.
Okay, we're going to get going with the meeting. It's 9:11 a.m. and thank you for your attendance. Okay, do we have anyone just on attendance? Councillor Guthrie will be here, I think, at 10:30. But moving on, confirmation of the minutes on the 12th of April 2023. We have a mover. Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 12th of April 2023 be confirmed.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Chair, I'll abstain from that. I wasn't here. I'm in favour.
Righto. So that is 7-1, or Councillor Edwards abstains, which will be taken in the negative. 7-1 if I can call for a division. Okay, and moving on.
Which is
Okay, moving on to, well, I'd like to move a motion that we deal with 8.1, 8.2, 8.3 and 8.4 later in the meeting to allow for all councillors that are in attendance today to be involved. Okay, do we need a seconder for that?
it's a procedural motion.
You do to move the.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Burkett. Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
This
Yes.
is for later in the day.
Yeah, later in the day, yep. So both online were in favour, or is anybody
Yes.
against? Yep,
Yes.
righto. Okay, so that
I'm in
is,
favour.
yeah, that's 8-0 then. Okay. Moving on to 10.1.
Page 28.
Officers online, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Respond to any queries.
Okay, 10.1, visit rural micro tourism initiative for Maranoa region. Okay, I'd like to move that Council 1 acknowledge resolution OM/03.2021/75 endorse the contribution of invest of 30,000 over the next 3 financial years, being 6,000 for 23-24 financial year, 12,000 for 24-25 financial year, and 12,000 for 25-26 financial year. 3, funds for this part of the economic fund this as part of economic development, business development, operations, advertising, promotion, GL 00014472. Okay, I'll speak to the motion.
We don't have a second.
Oh, sorry, that's right. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Burkett,
I have a question.
please go ahead.
Has there been any external consultation with the micro-tourism providers being done?
No, look, as far as I know, we've had 2 briefings with council around the platform. So we, this is a platform, so we haven't actually spoken to individual organisations. The aim of the platform is to develop packages. You've got a shortage of packages in the region. It's micro-tourism initiatives could be clubs, associations, could be smaller groups. We haven't actually spoken to them. The development over the last really year has been about the availability of having a platform. And the next steps would be working with CDI to understand how the structures would be costed, and then working from an economic development perspective with prospective businesses as well as existing businesses in relation to this initiative.
Okay, councillor Taylor?
So, saying that then, CEO, how do we know that there's a market for it, number one, and then I've lost my train of thought on the next question I had. But anyway, we'll start there. Like, as Councillor Hancock said, we haven't gone out and asked, say the Ginnery, for example, let's go with that. Like, are they interested? Do they pay? Do we pay? Who's actually going to bring all this together?
Good question. Is in relation, do we need packaging? Do we need products? Yes, we do. That's probably coming out of a significant amount of research over the last 5 years around tourism, development of tourism strategies, etc. You've got a real shortage of packages in regional Queensland, probably regional Australia. Certainly from all of the consultations in development of economic development and tourism strategies, the need for the development of packages has been paramount. Secondly, this project actually comes out of research that's been done by CDI, who also work closely with our Economic Development Action Committee, which is based with the ROC, South West Queensland Regional Organisation of Councils. So essentially the need is there. It's been a long-term need, and one of the challenges for councils right across the southwest in relation to tourism is the need to develop packaging. The reality is some of those businesses are in existence now. Some of those packages and the businesses would have to be worked up. That would be a key role for council from both an economic development and a tourism perspective, and also working with other stakeholder groups. The platform, as that's been proposed over the last couple of briefings, is really very much about council taking a proactive role in developing, working with the sector to develop.
So do we have the staff to do that?
We do. We have local development officers. We have regional events officers. We have project officers. We have a manager of economic development. And we have a director. So we do have enough structure to do this. It's untested territory in relation to micro packaging. And certainly we would have to work effectively with our other membership subscriptions like Outback Queensland, OQTA, to develop up a skill set in order to understand how to work with micro enterprises that could develop a package. And the platform itself develops the structure around the costing because it's a commercial transaction, but our role would be around facilitating and working with small
Mr. Mayor.
enterprises to develop packages.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we do.
Councillor
Mr.
McMullen?
Mayor, you copy there?
Yeah, I can hear you, but go ahead.
So I'm just trying to get my head around this. Is this going to be something that's actually in opposition to the RCAT platform that's getting well underway?
Councillor McMullen, I don't think we've got a lot of detail exactly on what that platform actually looks like. From our understanding, it's a website with a degree of interaction. We're not talking about that. We're actually talking about essentially what's a commercial platform to sell packaging. RCAT aren't in that space, and it probably never will be. The critical thing is that you've got a private business that's developed an economic development platform, a bit like QuickBeds, What If, all those kind of things, that's targeting a long-term need in the rural sector for small packaged product. The larger packaging, those distribution networks have always been there. They're running out of those regional tourism organisations, but this has got nothing to do with RCAT. It's actually about a commercial platform that can create opportunities for RCAT in working with their own members around developing existing product. But we're also talking about one of the really big problems that we've got with small communities is they often don't have the sophistication to develop a type of product that could be sold to compete commercially at a larger distribution level. This is micro, so a small organisation could develop a 1 or 2 day package that they can put onto a platform where people can purchase that directly. We've never had products ever that have been developed for that councils can contribute to that actually take from consumer interests to actually outright sale. This is the first time that products, we'd actually be able to get results for our region, actually show that we're bringing in money to our region. It's a results-orientated website. It's still a new idea. There's still got to be take-up, but it's not an RCAP product. It's a commercial product and it's a platform for packaging. And so that creates a real opportunity for any region that wants to use it.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
Can you just remind me what CKI is?
CDI?
No, it's got, well, sorry, I'm seeing in the input into report and recommendation, CKI investment.
No, it should be, sorry. Apologies, it should be CDI.
CDI.
Oh, it's the proposal, the name of the organisation, I think there's
Page
CDI.
30.
I just looked at that proposal and they say that their name is Visit Rural Proprietary Limited.
Visit Rural Proprietary Limited is now a trademark, but it was CDI that came to us
So
and
that's the
developed
company.
the
So they're
proposal.
called CDI
Yeah,
Investment.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
My next question, just off the back of what Councillor Hancock asked, like with what you've just shared with the CEO, my thought is, like, we haven't even spoken to the likes of Boo Book, who are at the moment a local business, a micro business that has packages. I see value in this, but I just wonder if we should do a little bit more homework with our local people to understand the appetite before we invest the money.
Well, is that a question or?
Well, it is a question. So have we engaged with any stakeholders outside of talking about this ourselves in briefing? So local stakeholders being local businesses, and then regional stakeholders, have we had a conversation around the rock table? Are other councils looking at doing this as well? And have we spoken to Outback Tourism Association to understand their views?
So we haven't spoken to Outback Tourism Association because it's probably in direct competition with a state-funded product.
Do they sell packages, Outback Tourism?
Yes, they do. That's their job, is to promote and provide networking to get into the distribution. They don't actually sell them. They actually connect into the distribution process because obviously that's a bigger tourism process. But look, have we spoken to our smaller local? Not for some time, but in consultations continually over the last number of years, it is the same thing that keeps coming up: packaging. And the challenge we've got in the sector is actually working with anybody who that's in the business or wants to be in the business to actually have the sophistication to develop the packages. And that's probably been long acknowledged, but it's actually not the job of OQTA or even Outback Tourism to do that. They'll distribute, they'll market, they'll promote, and sometimes they'll facilitate additional programs in relation to the development of packages. But it's a real gap because what they want, the whole of the RTO sector is really designed to push product, but you've got to have product first. So if that makes that clear.
Councillor Hancock.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering, like, I'm not opposed to this either. I'm just wondering if you'd consider laying this on the table so we could have a conversation with some external providers like Boo Book, like RCAT, like Maranoa Travel. Maybe they're interested in doing something like this. I just, I'm not opposed to this. I'd just like to have some conversations with the professionals in the game to see how it might even work. Even I heard you talk about Strat Fishing Club before. Well, have we talked to them to see how that could even work? Can I move that we lay this on the table to have that consultation with those external providers within our region?
You can. Okay, all those in favour of laying it on the table?
Yes.
All those against?
Against.
Councillor Burkett, which way are you
Oh,
voting?
4.
Okay, so that is 5-3. If I can call for a division.
I was laying it on the table to have, yep, you've got it, consultation with external providers.
It's for another date,
Yeah,
Yeah, come back.
I just want to,
because I think it's very good.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of people interested.
I could name 4 or 5 that could benefit right now.
yeah, but it'd be really great to have their input.
Because you want them to use it.
Yes.
But they're not getting any help from any existing, so it's definitely a need.
But some of the people that you're consulting with may not be the ones that would use it and might have financial,
It's just on
like
that.
it could be a
Do we get a
different
say
thing.
on
But anyway,
who? Because the ones that were listed just then,
well,
I've got other.
you've just moved the motion and it's been supported, so that is the motion.
Madam CEO, through you, Mr. Mayor, Madam CEO, just on that, can we make sure we cross everyone, or if we can apply some names to that, because,
There were no names in the resolution.
but I'll make sure that not the ones that were mentioned just then, because I didn't speak,
Yep.
and I didn't want to mention names, but
The net should be wide.
yeah, not just the ones that were mentioned, because they're up here.
But they were only an example.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
but what I'm trying to get at is that we can capture everyone without not just the ones that were mentioned.
Yep, yep, sure. To my mind, I think the challenge is this has been a gap for a long time, and it's come up in every consultation right across the region, all of the southwest regions for a long, long time. We'll certainly cast the net wide and talk to people, but there's also a level of latency of product here, is that this is an opportunity to also develop product that doesn't exist yet. So how you go about doing that is something we can have an internal discussion on it from council, and that's probably where our next steps were going. It's a small amount of money. You're basically going, okay, let's work on this and do let's experiment with this. But happy to talk to the
But of course, any
different providers.
consultation includes councillors. The councillors will be able to be invited to be part of that
So
consultation.
we have a
Look,
deputation,
I'm
do
not
we,
going to have a
here?
formal
Like they'll come
consultation.
in
My
and talk to us,
understanding was
or
just go
what's
out
the
to
go?
people and talk about the platform and stuff and whatever.
And bring it back to council.
And get our economic development people, talking to people. Look, we spent 125,000 on that Live, Work, Play platform with virtually no consultation and just a late report to a meeting. So I look happy to get that feedback, raise awareness of it, because I think if council supports the motion, I do think you'll get a lot of interest, because it's been a long-term issue for tourism.
That'd be great.
Righto. 11.1, tender 23016, register of pre-qualified suppliers for wet hire of equipment. Do we have a mover?
Can I just have 2 seconds, because I had a lot of technical issues and I didn't get to see a lot of the reports, like the bulk of it, because it just kept what we're talking about
Well,
earlier.
we'll adjourn the meeting.
I just want to make sure I just don't have a conflict on anyone.
Yeah,
on this
we'll
list.
adjourn the meeting. Okay, we'll keep going with the meeting. 11.1 to tender 23016, register of pre-qualified suppliers for wet hire of equipment. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that, 1, council approve the addition of suppliers to the register of pre-qualified suppliers for wet hire of equipment established in accordance with S232 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 under the proposed sub-panels contained in this report. 2, pre-qualification for the mentioned businesses remain under the 30th of November until the 30th of November 2023. And 3, council authorise the chief executive officer or delegate to enter into deed of agreement with the selected tenderers, formalising the terms and conditions detailed in the draft agreement.
Happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a second to Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
And Councillor Edwards, are you in favour?
Yes.
Okay, 8-0. Okay, 11.2, tender 23017, register of pre-qualified suppliers for trade and associated services. Councillor Hancock.
I move that. One, council approve the addition of suppliers to the register of pre-qualified suppliers for trade and associated services established.
Page 85.
Oh, I don't know. I must have flipped over that one. I do have a conflict. So,
Righto. Okay, we'll just, do you know what it is?
yeah, I've had it before with Frank Maori Builders. I did not see that page when I flipped it before.
Righto, please go ahead then. We'll do the conflict first.
Sorry, Kel. Just make sure that H and H is not. No, this one as well, but. No, this one I got one with. Hayden, I don't know if he's Hayden and. Anyway, I'm out of the room anyways.
It's not Hayden.
No, he's H and P, yeah. I have a conflict on item 11.2, tender of 23017, register of pre-qualified suppliers for trade and associated services. I'm the declaring council is myself, person with interest is myself. Particulars interest, a good friend of mine, Frank Maori, is mentioned in the report, and it's a prescribed type of conflict of interest. I'll leave the room while the matter is voted and discussed and voted on.
Okay, councillor Hancock.
Well, I'll start again, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I move that one, council approve the addition of suppliers to the register of pre-qualified suppliers for trade and associated services established in accordance with S232 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 under the proposed subpanels as listed in this report. 2, pre-qualification for the mentioned businesses remain current until the end of 30 June 2023. 3, council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into a deed of agreement with the tenderers listed in the table below, formalising the terms and conditions detailed in the draft agreement.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
7-0. Thank you. Can we get the councillor back?
Will that have to come back to us at 30 June?
Beg pardon? Sorry?
Have to come back to us if it's only up until the 30th June, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Item 11.3, tender 23018, register of pre-qualified suppliers for minor works, civil construction and maintenance. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that one, council approve the addition of suppliers to the register of pre-qualified suppliers for minor works, civil construction and maintenance in accordance with S232 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 under the proposed sub-panels listed in this report. 2, pre-qualification for these suppliers will remain current until the 31st of March 2024. 3, council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into a deed of agreement with the selected suppliers, formalising the terms and conditions to the draft deed of agreement.
Okay, now do we have a seconder for this one? We're on 11.3, page 104. Councillor Ladbroke?
Yes.
Yeah, so Councillor Ladbroke was first, and thank you. And does anyone wish to speak to it? Well, we're going to go to the vote on, we'll just pause a second. Have you, Councillor Guthrie, have you got that?
Page 104.
Yep, cool. Okay, we're going to go to the vote on it. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
8-0. Actually, 9-0 would be.
So I was just about to say
9-0,
that. I think
yep.
everybody's here.
Okay, righto, moving on. .4, tender 23021, register of pre-qualified suppliers for the dry hire of equipment. Do we have a mover? Councillor Ladbroke.
I'd like to move that council approve the addition of suppliers listed below and council register and pre-qualified suppliers for the dry hire of equipment established in accordance with S232 of the local government registration of 2012.
Regulation. Do you mind saying that? Yep.
Regulation
Yep.
2012. And then 2, Cal, we just have to change that to 2 because it goes 1, 3, 4. And then approve a pre-qualification of the business on the register, remain current until the end of March 31st of March 24. And number 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into a deed of agreement with the tenders, formalising the terms and conditions and details. Tenders. Where are we?
Yeah, tenderers, yeah.
Yeah, tenderers, formalising terms and conditions detailed in the draft agreement. Red line earthworks and maintenance, Truff Quip Proprietary Limited, and Wide Land Equipment Hire Proprietary Limited.
We have a seconder for that. Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
9-0.
And 140, page 149.
11.5, tender 23020, register of pre-qualified suppliers for traffic management services. Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Oh, sorry. I'd like to move that 1, approve the addition of suppliers as listed below to Council's register of pre-qualified suppliers for traffic management services established in accordance with S232 of the Local Government Regulation 2012. 2, approve that the pre-qualification of the businesses on the register remain current until the end of the 31st of August 2024. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into a deed of agreement with the selected tenderers, formalising the terms and conditions detailed in the draft agreement, East Coast Traffic Controllers Proprietary Limited and Traffic Queensland and New South Wales Proprietary Limited.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, 9-0. Item.
Oh, sorry. Did you want to go back to the original?
Well, we'll keep going
Yeah,
with this.
okay.
Yeah. Item 13.1, Surat Tennis Clubhouse Asset Report. Councillor Hancock.
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
Option 4, Director, through you, Mr Mayor. Option 4, where are we getting that? Do we have a budget allocation for that?
Sorry, Councillor, can you just repeat that question?
So your recommendation is to go with funding option 4?
Yep.
Yep, I'm just wondering where that budget allocation,
Yeah, so
we will consider it in the 23-24 budget?
Correct.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's a consideration.
And
Yeah.
through the chair, you've already got some strategic asset management for facilities already incorporated in 22-23.
Yeah.
And you've got the balance of it incorporated in 23-24.
Yeah, sure. Just double checking on that. Okay. I'd like to move. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Please go ahead.
I move that Council 1 acknowledge that this report enacts Resolution OM/03.2023/14. 2, endorse funding option 4 in the report to undertake maintenance repairs to the Strat Tennis Clubhouse, include 23-24 budget. 3, consult with local community regarding the Strat Tennis Clubhouse asset management strategy in line with updated local area plan 23 to 28. 4, consider including in upcoming regional asset management planning inspection process. Can I actually not put the word consider? That council include.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a question?
Please go ahead.
I note that there is, the wording here is that in accordance with the council's asset management plan, et cetera, it doesn't actually specify anywhere in here, so just the question, who actually owns the building?
Council.
It's council owned?
Yeah,
Yes.
through to the chair. Yes, that's right, Councillor Guthrie.
Okay, I'll second that. Does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask Councillor Guthrie, I couldn't hear her properly when she next speaks next, she must be a little way from the mic.
Sorry, Councillor McMullen, I was just querying, I know it's written
No,
that it's part of the asset management plan, I was just clarifying that it was actually owned by council.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hancock.
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks to Director Matt for bringing this report back so quickly. I just think that this is such an important project to be able to get the Strat Tennis Clubhouse free of white ants. It is actually in a really bad state of affairs, and it's our responsibility as it is our asset, and I really think we need to be moving quickly to get a handle of that white ants and to put some maintenance into that clubhouse in line for our new tennis courts, and so that the community can actually use the whole facility.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. Certainly do. Very glad now we've got a local director for Waroo, so Surat has someone to make sure that processes are in place where basic maintenance is actually done. So I think hopefully that we don't have these sorts of costs in the future. So a stitch in time saves 9, and I'm certainly supporting this, but I don't think this is normal, and I think with the local director, we have processes in place working with facilities to make sure that we don't have this sort of situation where we have white ants that take control and it is not dealt with as part of good asset management. And if we do that, I believe we can reduce our costs dramatically and sort of alleviate doing this sort of thing in the future. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mayor wish to sum up?
No, thank you.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, 9-0.
Thank you, Council.
Page 201.
201. 14.1, permit to occupy lot 22 on COG 13.
I'll move, Mr. Mayor.
Please go ahead.
I'd like to move that council acknowledge that this report, Council 1 provide no objection to the issue of permit to occupy lot 22 on COG 13 on the condition that the permit does not impact the status of or operation of the Roma Southern Road, noting that the road is off alignment in its location. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to sign documentation related to this decision.
Okay, we have a second, Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, 9-0.
Page 216.
216, 14.2, cafe on second, option to renew. Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the extension of the in-June commercial space lease agreement for a further 1-year term until 2nd of July 2024. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to sign documentation relating to the renewal of the lease.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Okay, so we'll go with Councillor McMullen. And do we have anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Mr Mayor, just to say that it's been a huge success, and I think these guys are doing a tremendous job, and it's got everything back running smoothly, so I think it's good to go again for another year.
Okay, Councillor Guthrie, do you wish to speak?
Can I just add that yesterday we had Anzac Day in Injune and Nikki actually catered for 240 people.
Wow.
In the two ceremonies, that's combined total, but I mean, she provides such a great service to the people of Injune and the travellers going through, so this one is a very, very positive outcome.
Does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. Anything we can do to support local business and, the feedback about, as it's been said, the impact that the cafe is having up there under Nikki's leadership. I do note that she's struggling to find staff, so really hope that that gets resolved. Really, what a fantastic thing for the people of Injune and District. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the move wish to sum up?
No, thanks, Mr.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
9-0. 17.1, Culture and Heritage Policy. Do we have a mover?
I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Madam CEO, don't we already have a cultural and heritage policy?
Through the chair, I certainly could take the question on notice and come back to see what we circulate, what we've got.
So I'm not against what Councillor Edwards is trying to do, but if it's in we might need to call it something else if it's in direct competition with the policy that we already have. But I would be surprised if we didn't have a cultural and heritage policy.
Well, the idea of this is to ask for a report, so that will come back if it's supported at this meeting.
If it aligns or it's contradicts.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I say something? I did look into that, and I put a 170A in, and nothing came back in that regard. We do have a fauna and flora policy. You probably recall that one.
Yeah. Yes.
But we never combined that, or we never investigated the cultural and heritage policy. At the same time, I think we were talking about it, maybe, but nothing happened. So I've put a 170A in, and there's nothing come back. So I've built this proposal on a 170A, and also asking a few questions. So I would prefer for it to go through. Yeah. Obviously, I've done some homework on it, so I'll certainly. Has anyone moved it yet?
No, we're just waiting.
We've got a.
Oh, sorry, I'll move it anyway.
Culture policy,
Yeah.
but we don't have a
Cultural and heritage.
cultural heritage, and it's probably timely, CEO. The arts and culture policy is dated 2016 to 2020. Now, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I assume it's still current, but it's worthwhile having a look at all of it.
Yep.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Hasn't been
Who
moved.
who moved
Ready
it?
to move
Sorry.
it.
Yeah, no. Councillor Edwards said he'd moved the motion.
He
Oh,
hasn't.
right.
He
No,
hasn't.
he hadn't
Yeah,
actually.
no, I haven't physically moved it yet.
Right,
Okay.
well, please go ahead.
I'd like to move that a report be prepared for an upcoming council meeting.
And as I said, I second that. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I will. As I said before, I've actually investigated it as far as I can go. I thought based on that it'd be a good idea to delve into it a little bit more in depth, and to do that, obviously, the operational side of the council would look at that. Just to speak on it, and you know, for everyone's benefit, there are various things around which could quite possibly go on there. You know, for example, there might be a sign or some form of infrastructure, a plaque or something that is there, but we don't really know the significance of it. So, as I've said in the requested agenda report, there is it's requesting that council consider developing a policy which allows the community, so this is for the community, to nominate local significant sites or structures, and not necessarily structures, you know, whatever may come out of this, and I'm sure it'll be debated in the future, anything to do with cultural or heritage value. So that's a fairly wide-ranging thing.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why I brought it to the council and certainly support it.
Sure. And through the chair, what in reading your request is that what you're also looking at is that procedural interface with how community might activate that knowledge and get it in front of council, whether it's on council systems or in front of councils to make a decision to add it to either their planning overlays or any other.
That's
type of
correct.
register.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
you know, it's just a small thing at this stage, but it could develop into a much larger thing, and as you say, with you know, combined with other things as well. So and you know, that brings to mind the fauna and flora policy. You've got things of significance there, which people can nominate, and you know, we might be surprised just what comes up on the register, and then you take it from there, of course. The other thing, of course, is also I've just noticed, you know, there's various things around Roma, which certainly could be items of significance. And also there's, you know, we've got certain things around Roma, for example, you know, the butter factory, the grain shed, you know, council buildings. There could be, there's a sign at Wallaroo, turn off. There's various things there that you can put on the, may be able to be put on the register.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where, you know, sort of where I was coming from.
Certainly, and through the chair, Councillor Edwards, is there's sort of two aspects to this. Is there is the concept of local significance from a heritage perspective that sits in the planning space, and indeed that still needs a process to get on there, and we can have a look at what we currently do. And secondly, for those things that potentially aren't necessarily as significant that they need to sit inside a planning instrument, a process whereby
right.
that they're recognised and they're recorded. But they, certainly smaller things like signs or.
Yeah, that's right. And
Sure.
and there mightn't be anything outside them. And I think it's a development. It could be a works in progress for developing, you know, all sorts of things. Tourism, for example. I mean, there's things that we don't understand. You see something of significance, but you don't know that it's significant. And, you know, it could develop into just put a plaque outside, for example, explaining what it is. And I think we've already got a fair bit of that in Roma, you know, with a lot of the buildings. But the thing is, they're private buildings. They're not necessarily our buildings. So that's part of the investigation that I'm consider, you know, would like considered in this policy.
Sure. And there's also, not least from a First Nations perspective, the concept of landscape values, where those values are intangible, they're not necessarily physical. There's a well-defined path there, but you could bring that in as well.
yeah, and that's right. And yeah, I don't certainly true. There's certainly things of cultural value there, going back a long way. And yeah, you know, that certainly would form part of the cultural area for sure.
Okay, so does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I'll speak to the motion. I'm supporting this. I believe that it's just pretty simple addition to the floor and faller policy to have local significant structures or, you know, of cultural value. It's really just alerting council to it. It doesn't, and it also alerts the staff to it as well in their operational days. Nothing worse than something being dozed over and they didn't know about it. So we instigated the floor and faller policy. This is just a slight amendment if it comes back and gets supported by council. It certainly can't hurt, and knowledge is everything. So bringing that knowledge back is just the ultimate consultation, and that can be done in a low-key way. And then if it's in conflict with something that council needs to do, then at least council knows about it, and it will be brought back to the council table. So, you know, there's items like this all over the Maranoa, and I believe that this was actually giving power to the people in being able to point these out without an onerous amount of time and so forth, if this does get supported. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
I've just got a question now.
Please go ahead.
Can I just get clarity from the mover of what the intent was? Because your contribution suggests that it's an amendment to an already existing policy. My reading of this report is that it's a new policy and it would be called the Cultural and Heritage Policy. Is that right, mover? That's you, Councillor.
Well, we'll investigate it. I think, you know, whatever comes out of the investigation, I think, Councillor O'Neill.
I'm just going off the executive summary says to investigate development of a cultural and heritage policy. So it's a standalone policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, and I'm not ruling anything out, of course, it'll come up in the debate, but, you know, if there's any reason it should be combined with another policy, you know, well, maybe that's something for the next meeting, or, you know, whenever this comes back. Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
So are you open for the officers to bring back different solutions?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I'm not necessarily saying that this is set in stone. It's a proposal to investigate. I mean, it's a fairly wide thing, but to keep it simple at this point in time, I was only looking at development of a cultural and heritage policy standalone. Yes.
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you.
So I'm happy for you know, the way it is at the moment. Okay.
Okay, so does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No.
Righto, then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. Okay, so we'll go back now to 8.1. Okay, 8.1, advertising resident SME fairs and local agent. I'd like to move that council endorse billboard-style advertising across a number of high-traffic traffic sites promoting Maranoa Regional Council resident fairs and small to medium SME enterprise small business fairs and corresponding ticket sales through the local distributor Maranoa Travel. 2, that a creation of a content signage and hire of a trailer, if required, be sourced from advertising GL 2511.29
21.
2149, Airport Administration, advertising general, up to a maximum amount of $10,000.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question, please.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, at the meeting on the 22nd of 3rd, 23, we moved that this resolution, or pretty well identical resolution, laid on the table to enable discussions to be had with the relevant stakeholders, and that this, I'll restate it, this lay on the table to enable discussions to be had with relevant stakeholders and to be deferred to a future council meeting. I might have missed something, but I haven't seen any of that information come through.
Look, through the chair, procedurally, Councillor McMullen, when something's laid on the table, it has to come back to usually the next meeting or a future meeting in its entirety. So this hasn't changed since then. What I certainly can advise is we have actually spoken to stakeholders. We actually had done them prior to that meeting. However, we hadn't firmed up anything in writing. Certainly the stakeholder that we're talking about, the local agency, are supportive of being in council doing this, you know, subject to their approval of what the final graphics look like.
My question is, what about the Rex Airlines? We discussed that day to talk to those people, see if they'd be interested in contributing. Something in the contract that says they can share. I haven't got the contract in front of me, but we discussed it. Did anyone get anything in writing from Matt Rex?
Look, through the chair, that's not part of the motion as it stands. Council can consider an amendment if they wish to. Rex is open to being approached. However, you don't have a resolution on the books at this particular point in time that directs staff to do that.
Other than the contract.
It is, again, the partnership. They're there as an active partner, but they would need to be asked.
I'm of the opinion.
Yeah.
I thought, aren't they one of the relative stakeholders that we mentioned in the?
They're a partner, but from their perspective as a business, if council would to put a proposal to them, they would consider it, but council would need to do that. And that's certainly the feedback. So they're not saying no to supporting anything in relation to council, but they've said, you know, as a business, they need a formal proposal.
And the other thing too is that if we do it with Maranoa Travel, with the local agency, like everyone has different views on what they would like on the signs, and the more we make it three-way, it could be difficult to get everyone, wishes on the sign, if you know what I mean. So.
But Mr. Mayor, the feedback I'm hearing, all the advertising in the world won't help. The seats aren't still available. People can't get the seats.
One thing that I've been advised is that the amount of seats is being increased for locals. So that I think is happening from next month.
Yeah, from the 1st of April.
First,
1st of May.
it might be 1st of May.
Yep.
And they're increasing the amount of seats on the minimum to 5 on all flights. And more on others. So there has been a crossover between old deals that had been done, and they do not want to ever reduce them, so they are taking a cautious approach. So that is much closer to 20% on every flight, and then more on others. So, yeah. So
Excuse me, did you say the 1st of May, did you? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's my understanding from my memory, it's the 1st of May, and that's on all flights, including the peak flights, is the way I understood it. And there is more, so that the 20% I think was 5 or 6, it might have been 6. So it's actually going to be that, and they're increasing it because they want the tickets to be used, but. This is also about being able to get the word out where to book the tickets, and obviously to support the local travel agent as well to make sure we have one. So, but yeah, and that's why I'm supporting doing this now, because it's really focused not so much as promoting Rex as promoting the council deal through the local travel agent. You know, we got a separate deal with Rex, so, you know. Anyway, I've moved that, I think I moved the motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have
Yeah,
a
you did.
Yeah, do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ladbrook. I'll speak to this. I believe that,
Question,
please go ahead.
just in relation to point 2, the GL, how much is currently sitting in airport administration advertising?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay,
but
we'll
it's
adjourn the
certainly,
meeting to get that information. Righto, so did we get that information that we laid it on the
certainly,
table?
I've got the correct general ledger number. There is an adjustment. It's 25112001. The balance was, sorry, the difference between 75 and 46 is 9. The balance is about 29,000.
So is that still airport administration advertising?
No, I think it's a different GL.
Is that because airport administration advertising didn't have the money?
Yeah, it didn't have the balance in it,
So how could you put it in there in the first place?
Uh,
because I put it in.
But they can also jiggle it round in the quarterly reviews, and the money may not have been spent for, 2 months to get it done, and as long as we've got revenue to cover that in our budgets, I think that's the bigger issue. Okay,
Can I just go back to the stakeholder thing? With Councillor McMillan was asking, and I actually couldn't hear the answer very well. So when we've got in here consultation to take place with the relevant stakeholders, you're saying we've already done that?
The relevant stakeholders, as per the report and the resolution that went up, was Maranoa Travel. And yes, I have done that. And yes, I have had a preliminary discussion with Rex around do they contribute to marketing? And they said yes, they do, but they would have to receive a proposal from the council.
So in talking to Maranoa Travel, were we not going to be informed on what they said? Like, it's because we're asking the question now, but we don't get anything back without asking?
You've asked it to come back into a formal arena, so and it's here. So they've just said yes. They actually had already, in principle, supported us helping them prior to that meeting. However, we had nothing in writing from them. So we went back to them and just asked them again.
So do we have it in writing now?
Yes, we would. And
We
I
don't
can
get to
share
see that? When
Do you need to see
when it's
that?
in
I'm
this?
happy to share it with you.
Well-
But the request to officers was talk to the stakeholders and bring back a report.
Where,
And it was laid on the
where does it
table.
say officers?
That's what it means when you're actually giving us a direction to go out and talk with stakeholders. You're actually giving a direction to the organisation.
So we should have basically said bring it back to council.
Well, it was laid on the table to come back to council.
okay,
For
so
a reason,
we might just
specifically a reason.
lay this, or we'll lay this on the table to get the email and circulate
I
it.
think it's fair enough that we see that correspondence. Am I
well,
asking something I shouldn't? I'm asking.
No, by all means you can ask for it. But you have actually given officers an instruction, which is to lay it on the table, go get the feedback and bring it back to the next meeting. So we've done
But we
that.
didn't actually get the feedback. We had to
But
ask.
this is the meeting.
Yeah, so
We're
it's
bringing it
verbal
back.
feedback was given, and normally someone would bring up, and we laid it on the table to the info. Did we get the info? Not always.
And
Mr. Mayor.
the report doesn't change because it's laid on the
Mr. Mayor,
table.
with the discussion I had with the travel agent, he's replied in an email, I believe, not verbal.
Exactly. And we had already spoken to the travel agent prior to
yeah.
the meeting before, where it was raised, and it was only verbal. So we needed something in writing back from the agent so that we understood their position officially.
So what exactly is going on the billboard? Exactly.
Firstly, can we be provided with that email so councillors can see that written?
So I move
Mr.
this-
Mayor, I'd like to just say the information I received verbally was more than happy to have the business advertised on the billboard, but doesn't believe it'll make any difference. till we get
Sorry, I
to
didn't
speak.
hear the
Yeah.
last part.
Won't make any difference at this point in time. now that I've heard earlier that the number of seats will increase. I think it was next month. That might be a thing, but at this point in time, they're not getting enough seats. So more than happy. The agent's more than happy to have his name advertised and all that, but he doesn't think it's going to make any advantage to
Well,
the
don't
number
do
of
it,
people.
save us money.
Well,
If he doesn't think it's any advantage, don't spend the money.
well, I think the mayor said, and the CEO said there earlier, is it next month or something, they're going to up to 5 seats something, was that correct?
Yeah, 5 seats on every flight instead of 3 as a minimum, and then more on other flights, so.
But
Do we
Mr.
have-
Mayor,
do we have that in writing?
what about the flights that are definitely people are ringing up and they're told by Rex that there are no seats available because there's been bulk might be the word, but block bookings and they're not leaving. They're booking block bookings. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Look, through the chair, councillor, we don't have that feedback in writing. We've had 2 complaints since January in relation to issues in relation to ticketing. Our knowledge is that if there is any issues, they're going directly to the agent that's distributing them, and we're certainly looking at how do we find out this information if people are dissatisfied or can't access what's being promoted. And so council will take a more proactive stance in relation to promoting our own customer service hotline. Tell us if there are issues so that we can monitor them and do something about them.
We have
But at
had
this
that
point,
concern directly to us in the last 10 days, though.
have you?
Yes.
Have we? And
Yep, to council, went to the mayor. You had a phone call about it?
No, I think the CEO is actually talking about our customer service lines, that they have not received any.
But have you not received that correspondence, CEO, the correspondence from the constituent who's raised concerns about what Councillor McMullen's talking about?
no, I'm not aware of it, so I'll chase it up too. Unless I was copied in on that. But no, I was looking at different feedback just in the last 3 or 4 days.
Okay, so I move to lay this on the table to get the email so councillors can see the email. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's 9-0. 8.2, Maranoa Thank You Week, annually acknowledging Vietnam Veterans Day and the Battle of Long Tan. I'd like to move that Council 1 place thank you banners for the week surrounding the 18th of August in each of our towns of Roma, Mitchell, Surat, Injune, Yulbar and Wallumbilla, acknowledging the service of Australians who served in the Vietnam War in the Battle of Long Tan. 2, the Thank You Week would be in recognition of service in light of the terrible treatment received when servicemen returned to Australia, lighting to be installed in the vicinity of the banners if possible. 3, receive a report at a future meeting detailing costs of 6 banners, to include as part of the 23-24 budget. And 4, liaise with the RSL branches in each relevant area around suitable locations and placement. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone?
Just a question.
Please go ahead.
What sort of banners are you looking at? Are you looking at the ones that are already going on the poles that are up, or are you looking at what?
Yeah.
Well, not every town has them.
No, and it could be a banner across the street, which would be great, but it's probably more about what's available, what have we done in the past, how can it work? So it could be a different solution for each area. So
Which is fine, but and I'm supportive of this, but I'm thinking we're putting the horse before the cart a little bit by number 1 and 2, by saying that we're going to do it, but yet that we haven't had the report in number 3 to come back to tell us how they're going to do it and what the costs are going to be.
I think it's within our ability to be able to fund doing this whichever way we do it, and I think time marches on and we need to make a commitment we're doing it, and then we can get further information back in further reports. That's why I think it needs to be done today.
But the number 3, we can't do anything until the number 3 happens anyway. So
No,
why couldn't it all come
but
back
we're saying
together?
we're doing it so the planning can start happening, and the more planning, the better.
Number 2 doesn't make sense, just by the way, that council, the thank you week.
Oh, okay. So on point 2, get rid of the, and it'll say thank you week would be in recognition of the service in light of the terrible treatment received when servicemen returned to Australia. Lighting to be installed in vicinity of the banners, if possible.
So probably should read that council acknowledge thank you week in recognition of service in light of terrible treatment received. Like that's, the council thank you week would be, doesn't make sense.
Okay, so you're talking about point 2?
That's what Councillor Hancock wrote.
So I'm happy to put in there acknowledged, and I'll also add to it for the Vietnam War and associated conflicts, because there was some other conflicts around there, and if we get some feedback from RSL and so forth, there may be a conflict that was not recognised, but it was in a similar vein. Okay, is the seconder happy with that
Yes, Mr.
change?
Mayor.
Right, I'll speak to this. I think we shouldn't be talking about it, we should do it. It's extremely sad to hear about the veterans that were treated really badly when they came back. And I don't believe, and I think it still is a mark on people today, and it's something that I think this might reach the people that you cannot reach, that don't want to even talk about it, but I think it is something as a community we can do, and hopefully make it into an annual event and some way to say thank you for your service. And that's all this is about. And I've certainly spoken to the president of RSL in Roma and is very supportive of it. And I believe that this will get support around the region, and most of the diggers that are left now would be from the Vietnam period or similar, and I think it's timely to do this. Okay, Councillor Hancock,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to forward an amendment.
please go ahead.
If just on point 4, when we say liaise with the RSL sub-branch in each relevant area around suitable locations and placement, I'd just like to put around suitable locations, placement and wording, because just sometimes the wording on the banner we actually have to get right, because sometimes people can take it the wrong way. I just know that there was a big thing about, like, it's not a celebration, it's commemorative, and it's not. So I just feel that it would be beneficial to council to make sure that we're getting wording that doesn't, insult anyone.
Suitable locations, placement and language.
And language, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that in the motion. Is the seconder happy with that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Righto, does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Guthrie?
Sorry. I'd just like to say the timing of this is very appropriate, given yesterday was Anzac Day, and in many of the communities, I'm assuming, as happened in June, many of the Vietnam veterans were the ones who were actively coordinating and overseeing and organising the Anzac Day activities. And the other thing to mention is that 2023 is the 50th anniversary of Australia's withdrawal from Vietnam. So we are very, very mindful that it is a significant amount of years, but 50 years is something to be noting. And so I think the passing, if this gets passed, if this gets support today, I think on those two fronts that this is a very appropriate resolution for us to be considering today.
Councillor Burkett?
Yeah, I'm fully supportive of this. As just a touch on that 50 years thing, my speech yesterday was about the Vietnam War, and I'll just leave you quote. This was on a memorial, and they said they served, they fought, they died, and received neither their country's glory or their country's compassion. And I think that pretty well sums it up. So I think any way we can, and it's not glorifying, it's just showing a bit of respect that they didn't get back in the day. So I'm fully supportive of this to happen.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
I would, thank you.
Please go ahead.
Wholeheartedly support this motion. I know full well, having near and dear loved ones who have fought, and I know it seems to be a common theme that, yes, they fought for the country, as Councillor Burkett said, and they hopped off the trains, arrived, this is World War II, hopped off the trains, arrived back here, hopped off the train as though nothing had happened, and came home, and weren't thanked. And it's a similar thing, as Councillor Golder said. So I wholeheartedly support this. It's a long time coming, and I think it's a very, very small contribution towards us recognising all the pain and suffering that they went through to fight for this country.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up, and I do agree with all the comments. And, when you listen to veterans, they're still they're still affected, and it doesn't go away, and it doesn't go away for families. So I think this is a small thing, as it was said, and, it's just really nice to say thank you. Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. Okay, 8.3, Roma Villa Winery. Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move the council amend resolution number OM03.20323/38 to read as follows. That council 1 acknowledge OM/12.2022/45 and OM/12-2022/46. 2, after a council briefing is held, conduct a community consultation based on forms of access for residents on giving their opinions on whether council should purchase the winery to save it for the community. 3, seek a written sale price from the owners or owners' agents. 4, ensure that any community consultation is meaningful, is transparent and effective, and aids in councillors' role as decision-making in the public interest, including the purchase price range, the loan that would be required if not funded by cash, and its repayment period. 5, based on a model but not limited to A, saving the winery as a boutique working winery and meeting space that benefits the community and visitors. B, that any major redevelopment or improvements to the site would not be done by council, meaning not funded, but would be undertaken by a not-for-profit foundation or similar through grants. 6, submit the acquisition of the Roma Villa Winery for consideration in the 24-25 budget.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any opposition? I'll speak in opposition. Does the mayor wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
I ask all councillors to vote for this amendment because if you want the community to have their say on this, they need to be fully informed of the cost. You can't expect anyone to say yes or no unless they have all the information to go with it. This is another business decision of council. Do we spend ratepayers' money on another asset that we have no real business plan for? Happy to go out to community consultation. I voted for that to happen. Just want to make sure that it goes with all the information so that an informed decision can be made by community. So in moving this amendment, I'm asking to vote to give the consultation the transparency we need it to have so that community and council make the best decision for the Maranoa.
Okay, I'll speak against the motion. I won't be supporting this amendment. I don't believe that it has been clear in the current motion to submit it for 24-25 budget. I believe we need to go to the consultation. I don't think we've always had negotiations in there of this nature. I think it is needs to be confidential in nature, and I certainly will not be supporting that. I think it's going to be really good consultation, and I would not be supporting this amendment. Okay, does someone wish to speak for the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just support the motion because over the last couple of weeks, I've had quite a few people asking what the situation is, how much money we're looking at, and obviously we can't tell them. So nobody wants to, well, not nobody, but these people aren't prepared to make a decision unless they know what sort of money council's talking about. Most of these people want it saved, but they don't want council spending too much money on it.
Okay, does someone wish to speak against the motion?
Just a question, Mr Mayor. Can we, in a situation like this, the owners, can we talk about a price? Is that, like, if he's not advertised as a price for sale, he mightn't be willing to talk. Do we know, can we have some information on that? Like, we mightn't be privy to it yet. I don't know, that's what I'm...
That's what number 3 is about.
Yeah, but no, it's up to seek a written sale price, but if someone's spoken to him already and he hasn't, that's what I'm asking the question. Not asking what's in here, I'm asking what this gentleman has said.
I believe it will prejudice working with the owner to make it public, so that's why I certainly wouldn't be supporting this motion. Okay, does someone wish to speak for the against the motion? Councillor Guthrie.
I'd like to say that when this came to us on the 22nd of March, I actually voted in favour of this, and I still believe that the original resolution was a fair one. It goes out to community consultation. It gives people the opportunity to say whether or not they would like to proceed with the purchase of the winery and to give their opinions. Now, whether or not they know exactly how much it's going to cost, they still will have an opinion. I don't think we can go ahead and ask for a firm purchase price, seek a written sale price, when the intention is, and I voted for this, to submit the acquisition of the Roma Villa Winery for consideration in the 2024-25 budget.
So you don't want to know how much that is?
I know what we've been told what it is, but I'm saying it'd be like me selling cattle that I get a price tomorrow, but I don't want to sell them until the next financial year or the year after that. You can't be held to a quote. If you get a quote from somebody, it's not going to be held for 12 months, 18 months. You get an indication. So maybe what we should be seeking, I'm just suggesting, I'm going to vote against it, a price range to give an indication of what we're looking at. No, you haven't. You've asked for a written sale price, not a range.
But I'm asking for a range just to go out to...
That's not what the resolution. So I'm going to vote against this. I think we should be going out for community consultation, determine whether or not people are in favour of it, put it to the budget, and then should there need to be a subsequent resolution down the track because it was felt that there's a next stage or a next part of the actual process, there's no reason why we couldn't do that. But I'm going to vote today against it.
Okay, does someone wish to speak for the motion?
Yeah, I do.
Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, I'm going to support this motion. I supported the last motion because, as I said last time, I actually do support community consultation and look forward to hearing what the community say about this project. The reason I support this amendment to the resolution is because I believe that this is providing more details within the resolution in line with the principles of the local government, where we're being open, we're being transparent, we're having meaningful consultation with the community. Since it has gone out to the community about the Roma winery, I have had people come to me and ask me about it, and I said, we'll be going out to consultation, and the very first question they asked me is how much. Once again, we can't give that detail, so we are asking community to provide feedback without giving them the whole story, and I actually don't think that's open and transparent as councillors. I think we need to be respectful of the person who is selling the winery. And that's why in point 4 it says that the purchase price range. So just to put a range out there, that's being respectful of that. And as for number 3, I would like that as a councillor to see the written sale price, because as of this date, I haven't seen anything as a councillor as a written sale price from the owner. So therefore, it makes it very hard to make that decision. So I think as council, we need a written sale price, not just verbal. And we need to then put a price range out to our community to ask for their feedback, and then that will be a meaningful and transparent way of getting community consultation. So I just think this adds value to the original motion, and that's why I'll be supporting it.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion?
I just want to speak.
I'll
Mr.
speak
Mayor.
against.
Just in regards to people, I've had a few people speak about it, but the telling thing I noticed the other day, there was 2 lots of social media posts about in regards to the winery, and there was a lot of support, and for both, like in both posts, a lot of support, which was part of it was surprising, but it was good. So I think it is. We've created a lot of talk about it, so I'm looking forward to the actual consultation process where we flush out a bit more. I'm still, I don't know, and unless the owner, if he's spoken that he's not real keen on, because it's a commercial investment or whatever the procedures, and he's not real keen on divulging at this stage, we've got to respect that. So.
Look, through the chair, I would say you've had, you've put 5, 6 different motions up in relation to the Roma Villa Winery. You have actually had a price supplied to you at least twice. You've also had an evaluation. So whilst you may or may not get a different proposal in the future from that person again, that's been stated in those reports. So but it is a commercial in confidence transaction if it was to occur.
Yeah, he won't want it to go
And
public.
at this stage, you're discussing consultation. So
Okay, does someone wish to speak for the motion, for the amendment? Councillor O'Neill.
I'm going to speak in favour of this. For me, this is it's a pretty easy decision. I supported the last resolution to go out to consultation with our community, and I'll support this again today because I do think we need to provide the right information to our community to make an informed decision. And if we aren't providing that, it will be a emotive response that we get. And like other councillors have just expressed, since this decision was made a couple of weeks ago, I've had a number of people raise with me their views, and I've got to say it's pretty balanced. But the ones that are considering the purchase of it have asked, what is the price? And I can't tell them. Just as in the 12 months leading up to the decision at the end of the year, a lot of people that watch our proceedings that are interested in council were asking me, what's the historic asset? Council saw common sense by a clear majority in December to unshackle the historic asset and release to the community that it is in fact the Roma Villa Winery. I think that was a step in the right decision to fulfil our obligation as decision makers here to have meaningful decisions made and being open and transparent to our community. I think this will aid in our ability to make that decision because the feedback we're going to receive from our community is going to be one from an informed basis. And I think that can only strengthen the consultation. I accept that we're seeking a written sale price from the owners or the owners' agents. I think that's a good step, Councillor Taylor. But equally, you're not, in my reading of this resolution, you're not suggesting that that sole number go out. It's a range to the community to get a sense of what their appetite is spending their money, whether it's a loan or it's a cash investment. It's not our money, it's their money. And I think we will get an informed and more robust consultation and the feedback if we are open and transparent and this resolution gets up today. But I'm also mindful that, three and a bit years ago, 9 of us campaigned to get elected to council. And there was, a number of other candidates that put themselves forward as well. And at the candidate forums that I went to, we all spoke about open and transparent decisions of council. Every one of us that sits here today campaigned on that. And so I'm fulfilling my obligation as a decision maker to continue to do that. And I urge all councillors here to support Councillor Taylor's amendment to strengthen the consultation and provide the information that is being sought by our community already, and will only increase once we go out to consultation if in fact we don't include a price range to give them a guide as to which way they're going to provide their feedback, whether it's for purchasing the winery or not purchasing the winery. But either way, it'll be one from a place of knowledge, and we should have faith in our community to provide us that feedback and for us to make an ultimate decision.
Look, just through the chair, I do need to state, look, if you did purchase the winery, it is a commercial transaction. It's not community infrastructure you're discussing. So that talking about price ranges, what you may or may not pay, could certainly prejudice any commercial position you may have, certainly going forward. So whilst I understand your comments in relation to transparency, it is a commercial transaction. So by its very nature, it normally stays in an in-confidence environment until council's made such a decision as to move forward, and that's mutually agreed. So you've got a challenge there. I understand what you're saying, but there is a economic reality. It's not community infrastructure. We don't own it.
It's actually a commercial business for sale though, so how can it be confidential in nature? Like,
if
the mayor
to
says
negotiate
confidential in nature, but this man is selling something. The fact that we haven't seen a for sale sign on it actually worries me, because there's not a for sale sign on it, so how do we know? Unless we get a price from him to say how much it is.
Yeah. But you've had a number of briefings on that. I hear what you're saying there. What I'm just pointing out is the fact is you have to be in negotiation to actually get to an outcome. Remember, you're not there yet. You've had multiple briefings, you've had that information, you've had valuations, you're not in negotiation. So I'm just flagging that difference. Sorry?
How can you negotiate on something you don't know the price on?
Well, that's disrespectful, Councillor
I don't know
Taylor.
how
You
that
know
is
that I have spoken to the owner of
Now, he
it.
might have changed
The
his mind.
CEO has
He might have
spoken
changed his
to
mind
the
in the
owner.
last 6 months
That
or
is
however long.
that is
No, it's not
disrespectful. It is
disrespectful.
totally.
It's asking a question.
That is not disrespectful when two people that have told you that they've spoken and got a price. That is disrespectful.
Look,
Okay,
through
moving
the chair,
on.
the price was only recently,
So why isn't there anything in writing for us to see the price?
but there was through the chair in the briefing. So through the chair, look, I realise you
Okay,
need to
we're
move
going
on
to keep
with your
going
meeting.
with the meeting. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion?
Yes, I'll speak against it.
Please go ahead.
I'm actually going to vote against it because I just think, after listening to what's going on there, I just think it's getting too far. It's getting too complex. It's getting, just a little bit too complicated. And I think it started off as a fairly simple thing, fairly basic thing. I think and once again, we've got to get back to the community. I think we're just, there's a bit of bickering going on about various things. I do agree with what the CEO has said, and that is it's commercial in confidence puts us at a disadvantage, okay, if we're going to buy it. That's if it goes ahead. There's lots of things we don't know, but those things will be thrashed out over a period of time. As I said before, I fully support community consultation, okay? But to keep it simple, that's what it should be. It's far too complex. And at the moment, by introducing more things in resolutions, it's almost like, how long is a piece of string? How many more things can we put in a resolution? You can bind the resolution up so nothing goes ahead. It just becomes far too complicated, in my opinion. So I think things are going to be worked out in the next, the next sessions, and which is normally what happens when you conduct these sorts of activities or these businesses. So like everyone, I've actually asked people. I've asked people in the community, but I've kept it simple, and no one's asked me about the cost of it. They've just said, yes, yes or no, we don't want to save the winery. Yes, we do want to save the winery. And it's a very, very simple thing, and that's the community talking. So, but I'll be voting against this motion.
Does the mover wish to sum up?
I do, thank you. I just want to say that we all came to the table wanting to be open and transparent, and I do not feel that in that motion. That's why I made an amendment. I can read the room, so that's all good. So I'm just asking you to be open and transparent, which is all I'm asking. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment?
Yes.
All those against the amendment?
Against.
Lost 4-5, if I can call for a division. 8.4, Blue Tree Project, Mitchell. Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 investigate the options, available trees and costings to paint a tree blue to support the Blue Tree Project in Mitchell. 2, be provided a follow-up report at the next ordinary meeting.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
No, can I make an amendment? Just to give you a bit of a background on this. Well, I'll just do the amendment first, I suppose.
Yeah, we should wait. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor O'Neill. Please go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, I'd like to move an amendment to acknowledge this report, but also acknowledge that the Bringa Action Group have an open resolution on this project and 2 locations identified. And it's an old resolution, but there's also been a new one in a recent meeting with 2 locations and other groups involved. So probably don't need to go to the next stage.
Yeah, okay. So does the mover happy to accept that amendment?
I'm a bit confused what the amendment is.
Oh,
So it's not an amendment, it's actually changing the whole thing.
Oh, sorry, I should have probably, yeah.
So it's actually nothing in there.
Well, I did acknowledge the report and then also acknowledge that the Bringa Action Group have an open resolution on this project.
To do it,
Yeah,
they're going to do it.
yeah, well, I can't speak to it yet, but whenever I can speak to it, I can explain to it if you like.
Well, okay, we've first got to find out if Councillor Hancock is going to accept the amendment or not.
I will look forward to hearing what Councillor Burkett has to say, but my thing is this is just to investigate investigate it and to be provided with a following report. In the background, it does say to consult with the community, and also I guess that's right, Aboriginal Corporation. So I would like to. That would be part of that consultation. And if it comes back to the council table that it's going to be done and on what time frame.
I'm just saving council money to looking into it when it's already been done. That's what I'm.
Okay, so do you accept the amendment or you don't, Councillor Hancock?
Can I ask a question first?
Please go ahead.
Could you just allow Councillor
I'm happy
Burkett
to
just to share
speak.
the
I didn't know when I
information
could.
to understand?
Yeah, so, and Councillor McMullen and Guthrie might have been at the original.
2 years ago it was brought up.
It was brought up that Bags supplied the paint and the men's shed
We're going to
paint it, and whether it was a miscommunication or the men's shed didn't do it. It was one was going to be at the school on the highway. Since then, the RSL have put in a motion to do it, and it works in good in the significance of the suicide part, because with the sporting group, well, I've had 4 in the last 10 years, and our club and the RSL have had many with returned soldiers, and there's a dead tree right at the front of the complex on the grassed area that's been designated by them, and then the other one at the school if it's still there. And Bags are doing the same thing, willing to supply the paint, and the RSL paint that one, and they are looking at the school to do the other one. So it's no cost to council, and it should have been done 2 years ago, but whether the men's shed didn't have the manpower, but yeah, So BAG's got definitely one open resolution on this to go at no cost to council.
And open resolution to do it when though? Like if you say
Oh,
it was 2 years
it's
ago.
only recently brought it up at the last meeting.
Oh, I see.
Darryl,
Right.
the RSL president.
Right.
So it's because it hadn't been done from the previous one, and like I said, I'm not sure who was at fault, but BAG had the paint ready to go, and it just and I know the schools had a change of principal since then, so that could have been that part of it. But it's all ready to go, and like I say, I can only comment on the RSL one, but that one definitely will get done. But yeah, then the school's just got to be. So what I'm saying is that there was people from the RSL and Combined Club at that meeting that ticked that box. It's just the school negotiation, and it ticks the box there because it's on the highway, so it's got that visual what the community did want back then. So.
So with that knowledge, Mr Mayor, I think the best way forward is I probably won't accept the amendment, and I'll actually withdraw the motion.
And to be honest, I didn't know the process where they had to wait till it was called or
Yeah, no, that's okay.
send a thing in. So.
It was just for me, a couple of people have been saying over and over again, so I just thought, well, we'll just do a council report.
I know that there's 3 people that I know who would have been because they originally brought it up.
I'll second the motion to withdraw it.
So I'll just withdraw the motion.
Okay.
So thanks for that, Councillor.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know whether I had to wait till this or send an email or what I had to do. So.
Councillor Hancock, you're moving a motion to withdraw 8.4 Blue Tree Project Mitchell off the agenda. Is that correct?
Just with that, if you do that, then is it like it's never been there, or will that be recorded in the minutes that it was put there to start with?
No, through the chair, both transactions are recorded because it's a legitimate part of the agenda, but also a subsequent action is that you're withdrawing it.
Yeah, just so that council it's been to the council table and we've acknowledged that the community group are going to take that on. Yep, so I'm moving that we withdraw that.
And I'll second that.
We have a second, Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
That's 9-0. Okay, we'll break for lunch back in an hour. So we'll keep going with the meeting. I'd like to move notice without motion to put on the agenda request for assistance in June. Kindergarten.
Childcare.
In June, Early Learning Centre. Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor O'Neill, any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, 8-0. Okay,
I'll move it going to closed.
yep.
You have to remember to add.
Do you have some wording there? No
I move in
conflicts?
accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors consider as necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed, an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. C1, Denton Court sale to state government. C2, community safety and compliance fees and charges adoption financial year 23-24. C3, tender 23030 cleaning services Roma Airport. C4, SWQ WSA graduate engineer program. C5, regional bitumen stabilisation project 22-23 contract re-award. C6, in June NBN satellite NBN fixed wireless RCP application. LC1, request for assistance in June Early Learning Centre. Okay, so do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
8-0. One, Denton Court sale to state government. Do we have a mover? Councillor
Mr. Mayor.
Guthrie. Councillor Guthrie's first.
I'd like to move that Council 1 agree to the request from the Queensland Government, Department of Energy and Public Works to amend the special conditions attached by Council to the sale of land in Denton Court in June to accommodate the state land transaction policies, subject to receipt of confirmation of the proposed date for construction of dwellings.
Do we need that?
Happy to then take that out if we don't need it.
Okay, do you want to read that again or whatever?
Yep, happy to. The Council, 1, agree to the request from the Queensland Government, Department of Energy and Public Works to amend the special conditions attached by Council to the sale of land in Denton Court in June to accommodate the state land transaction policies, and 2, authorise the Council's Chief Executive Officer or delegate to execute the necessary documents to finalise the sale.
Do we have a seconder?
Yeah, Mr Mayor.
Okay, well, we'll go with Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? I'll speak to it. I think this is a really proactive thing, and it's certainly great to work with the state government to make this happen for the benefit of the people of the Maranoa. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Guthrie.
I just am very excited when I see that there will be the possibility of 3 additional houses being built. I think it's very exciting to have a bit of a housing boom, and it'll have a flow-on effect.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the move wish to sum up?
No, I'm good, thank you.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 9-0. C2, community safety compliance fees and charges adoption financial 2023/24. Councillor O'Neill.
I move the council adopt the fees and charges for community safety for the 23-24 financial year, noting that these charges will apply to 23-24 animal registration renewal notices to be issued 1st of June 2023.
Do we have a second? Councillor Taylor. Do we have any opposition? I'll speak in opposition. Does the move wish to speak to the motion?
I will. I am supportive of the fees and charges that have been provided by our Manager of Community Safety and Compliance. The justification to the increases that are proposed are sound. The costs of registering animals in the Maranoa is low compared to a lot of our council cousins across the state. And I know as a responsible dog owner, as many of our community are, that these are small costs in ensuring that we are doing the right thing by our pets.
Okay, I'll speak in opposition. Whilst I support many of the fees and the charges, I do believe that you don't have to go too far to see the financial stress in the community, and putting fees up by a large increase I do believe is not in community's best interest. I believe we should be doing more to keep the fees low on when we're dealing with people doing the right thing, and they have done the desexing and so forth. So I do not support the recommendations. I do not support large increases, and I believe that we should tweak it to reward the people doing the right thing more than certainly what is being put forward. Okay, does someone wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Hancock.
I'll support this motion, Mr Mayor, because I don't believe, as we heard from the officer, that it is a large increase. I think it's just actually increasing it back into a line to what people were paying a few years ago, actually. And as we've heard, the Maranoa fees and charges are actually quite low, actually the lowest from around the region, our neighbours. And so therefore I don't believe it's a large increase. I believe it is a sufficient increase to be able to keep up with the cost of for council to be able to deliver these services for our community. Community safety is very, very important to our community, and but it does come at a cost, and so therefore we need to make sure that we can. The increase doesn't even cover the cost, and so, but we do need to make sure that we can be able to provide these initiatives to our community, and that's why I'll support this recommendation.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? Does the mover wish to sum up?
Briefly, given that de-sex dogs were highlighted, this would take it back to the fees that were being charged in 2019. We all made the decision here to reduce these fees and charges over the impact of COVID on our community. We've got to the other side of that now. This takes it back to where we were in 2019. It would see an increase of $7.50 across the year, which would mean keeping a de-sex dog in a designated town area in the Maranoa would be less than 60 cents a week. And so I'm pretty confident that people will accept that this is the cost in keeping animals in our community. So I encourage councillors to support it.
Can I ask CEO, what is that increase in percentage terms?
In relation to the overall fees?
For the de-sex dogs that we've talked about?
Through the chair, it takes it up, I think, from a fee of $260 to $350.
No, the de-sex dog for dog registration.
Okay, let me just find that.
It's 200%, wasn't it?
Well, so I'm happy to get that answer to Mayor. It's unorthodox to ask a question once the mover has summed up.
I definitely think we've done that before.
No, we haven't.
I'll have to, look, what I do know is, and I'll get to the fee, but your de-sexing fees dropped by 50% during COVID. That was your first concession. You continued that concession last year and you still provided a 25% discount. And my understanding is 2023 is up by 33%. So in essence, it's by my rough calculation, about 13% increase.
Or is it a 33% increase?
No,
for this year?
13. No, because what basically the fees are doing is reinstating them back to 2019. So in other words, you've removed all your discounts, but there's a slight increase. So I'll just grab that.
But from
fee.
last year, I think.
The 33% increase from last year. So that's
33%
essentially,
increase.
yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the vote.
25%
In the
discount.
report, it says
Yeah.
25%.
Yeah, it was discounted by 25%.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
All those against?
Against?
6-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on.
Mr Mayor, who was against?
Councillor Ladbroke
Thank
and...
you.
Councillor
I heard the other
Edwards.
two, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're moving on to C3, tender 23030, cleaning services, Roma Airport. Go, Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move to Council 1 award tender number 20009, provide cleaning service to Rome Airport to Twin Oz Proprietary Limited. Is that written twice for a reason? Or? To the amount of $104,212.80, including GST, commencing on the 1st of June 2023. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to finalise the contract and execute any documents as necessary. 3, assign cost to work order 1109.4001.2002, Airport Operations, Roma Airport Facility, Cleaning, Tendered Works.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. Okay, C4, SWQ WSA, Graduate Engineer Program. Do we have a mover? Councillor Ladbroke.
I'd like to move that council receive and note the report to increase the SWQROC annual contribution by an addition of 20.
Just about to go to the vote.
Yeah, so we're back to the vote.
Mr. Rahus, we haven't had the seconder yet.
Oh, you
You
dropped
haven't
off.
heard the resolution.
Oh, you're way back there, are you?
Well, we lost, Laddie started talking and I thought, well, he's done something wrong, so and that just disappeared.
What one did you move?
Oh, I don't know.
This one, the Southwest Rock.
Oh, no, you're right then. He's right.
Well,
So-
we didn't.
So
Who's the second
basically,
then? Who
I
was the
did-
second?
I did, Councillor McMillan, and it's just as it is on the screen.
Thank you, all good.
so that's, so does anyone wish to speak to the motion? It's as the screen there,
That's
1
all
and
good.
2. So we're, Councillor Edwards, did you hear that as well?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yep.
Right, so that's what we're voting on. We've got a mover and a seconder. No one wants to speak. We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes,
Yes.
9-0 for C4. C5, Regional Bitumen Stabilisation Project 22-23 Contract Reaward. Do we
Yes,
have
Mr.
a mover? Councillor.
yes.
Okay, Councillor McMullen can go ahead with that.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that Council 1 select Durac Proprietary Limited as the recommended tenderer for tender VP 337972 Road Rehabilitation Project 2022-23. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into final negotiations with Durac, noting a contract sum value of $2,835,798 exclusive of GST, and execute the contract if the final terms are acceptable. 3, authorise the nominated superintendent for council, the delegation to order variations up to the valuation of the approved budget, noting that the nature of the contract and the variability associated with the road rehabilitation design process. 4, assign expenditure to the 2022-23 budget allocation for the road rehabilitation project.
And just through the chair, Councillor McMullen, you said the word in number 3, order variations up to the valuation of the approved budget. You meant order valuations up to the value of the approved budget. Just noting
Order
that.
valuations up to the value of the approved budget.
That's right. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Hancock. And does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. C6, in June NBN satellite to NBN fixed wireless RCP application. Councillor Guthrie.
I'd like to move that Council 1 receive and note the report, and 2, provide in principle support for the project, noting that if successful, any contribution payable would not be due until the next financial year. And 3, include the project in June fixed wireless contribution, RCP, valued at $157,980 for consideration as part of the financial year 23-24 one-off special projects budget deliberations.
Second that.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? Councillor Guthrie.
Just to say that it will be wonderful if we are able to be part of this and to actually improve connectivity in the in-June area.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I certainly agree, and we've heard from the community poor communications, and this will be one part of the equation if it gets up. And we have been improving communications in Surat with millions of dollars spent on the ground there, and look forward to being able to get it to happen for the in-June region. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0.
Mayor, council didn't spend millions of dollars. Yeah.
No, but I
For
said there
Surat
has been
community.
millions of dollars spent. Okay, LC1, requests for support for the In-June Early Learning Centre, and I'd like to move that that Council 1 advocate to Guild Insurance on behalf of In-June Early Learning Centre seeking an extension to the due date for rectification works to be completed. 2, develop a plan in conjunction with Early Learning Centre for urgent rectification works and provide to the insurer. 3, commit to the completion of all remaining stumping works in the 2023-24 financial year by allocating funds to a maximum of $210,000 for the project. 4, in the instance that In-June Early Learning Centre are successful in securing grant funding for the project, the difference will reduce the balance of council's budget allocation. And 5, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to investigate potential alternative coverage options and execute all required documentation.
You put all delegate in there.
Or delegate.
Mr Mayor, would you also put in insurance coverage, just to be clear what that coverage is?
Yeah.
The coverage options.
Yeah, insurance coverage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Well, I would like to say to the people of In-June and to regards to childcare, I'd like to really say that, you know, all the volunteers and the people involved and the parents and the children, that you do matter, and, you know, supporting this motion is a way to keep services going, and look forward to the CEO working with the insurance company and trying to find a solution to keep services going in June for the benefit of the people of the Maranoa. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. And I think we're back to what was one laid on the table,
8.1.
8.1. Okay, did people receive an email about that?
Well, we did at 12:36, but that was saying
An
that
email.
they're happy for the Maranoa Travels phone number to be in the Maranoa Today, not on a billboard.
No.
So there was another
there's one
email
there.
sent to you from Abel, and that was, sorry, I'm just trying to.
Two, Maranoa Travels 2 things that they'd
Yeah, I
like.
see that there, but it's still about the newspaper, it's not about the.
That's how it reads. That's right.
There should be 2. There was one that was about the newspaper, and the other one was around the
didn't get the other one.
promotion. So look, I'm just that was circulated directly to you, and then I had to ask Abel to circulate it to me.
Edwina, is that the one where Pliny says, happy with the concept, like to see the make of the billboard signage first? I do have some concerns that we don't have enough resident fares
Yeah.
available. Well,
Yeah, that's right.
that's his original one, I take it, is it?
Yeah, that was the original one, talking about the billboard, yes.
The one I'm looking at, High Bell, it doesn't say Maranoa Travel in the Maranoa Today in that email.
What time was that, Councillor Durgan?
Underneath it, number in the news.
Aye.
Okay,
no,
we'll
it's
just
right.
adjourn for a minute till we sort out.
We probably shouldn't be reading any of it.
Please go ahead, Councillor McMullen.
So you're gonna, what you've got up there is what you,
I don't understand, we'll see what the motion does. Okay, so, yeah, no, I believe we're back here, and we're talking about item 8.1, advertising resident and SME and local agent.
That's incorrect to say airport administration advertising.
Okay,
We were told earlier that that's
It
changed the
is
materials and
to
services.
airport materials and services. Thank you.
okay. So I'll read it again. Council endorsed billboard-style advertising across a number of high-traffic sites promoting the Maranoa Regional Council resident fairs and Maranoa Regional Council small to medium enterprise, i.e. small business fairs, and corresponding ticket sales through the local distributor Maranoa Travel, subject to receipt of their approval. 2, the creation of content signage and a hire of trailer if required be sourced from advertising GL 2511.2001 airport materials and services up to a maximum of $10,000. Yeah, okay, so is the seconder happy with that?
Yes.
Councillor Ladbroke?
Yes.
Righto, so I believe this is a really positive thing. Council has negotiated historic amount of fares as well as the price of the fares, including a small business fare at $250, which means you can fly any time that there is fares, well, any availability basically, and that is unheard of with full conditions of the fare as well as the resident fare, which is $169 plus fees, Rex has increased the amount of flares, I think, from next month. So looking forward to more people flying, seeing family, doing things, and bringing people to the region to help run their businesses. So I'll certainly be supporting this. Council has made the decision and I think it needs to be promoted, and also support our local travel agent as far as a beneficial that hopefully will lead to making a stronger business in the Maranoa. Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Taylor.
Just so that I'm clear, we have waived the landing fees of $6,500 a week. Income from passenger tax is capped at 43,500 passengers. Council staff help register residents to get their resident number for booking, which I believe is the job of Rex and the travel agent. Now you want to advertise a private business with ratepayers' money. Why don't we put up a billboard advertising the fee and charges of the sale yards? Why not the cost of the gravel from the quarry, these being our businesses? You do this for them at $10,000, every business in the Maranoa deserves the same consideration. People know the cost of the airfares, they just can't get their hands on them. The partnership agreement we have with Rex, the only winner is Rex, can't see what's in it for the residents of the Maranoa.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
I'll speak.
Please go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
I agree with the Mayor there. I think it's a positive move. Doing this, you can't sort of, put these things all pigeonhole them. I think through agreements and tweaking, I think I think what's trying to be achieved here is getting a better outcome once again for the community in the Maranoa. And Rome wasn't built in a day, and you'll never be absolutely spot on with everything from the start. And if you've got truly a good partner and you've got a good agreement, we should be able to do this, without it being, fully set in concrete. So I think it's a positive move for the community, for the people of Maranoa, because it does bring economic development into the towns. And we said that from the very start. That's one thing I was always trying to achieve, is to build the numbers up. You might be missing out on direct benefits, but the indirect, intangible things you don't see is what I've called the multiplier effect over the years. And and that certainly creates jobs and economic development within the Maranoa. So I'll be voting for this.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
I'll be speaking against the motion because I simply cannot use ratepayers' money to pay for advertising for private businesses. I think that would be opening a whole can of worms where other private businesses could come to council asking to advertise for them. And I absolutely agree with Councillor Taylor. If we were to spend money on advertising, why not advertise our own businesses that we run on behalf of the community? And so I won't be supporting this. I don't think we should be using ratepayers' money to provide advertising for private businesses.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
Mr Mayor, I'm supporting this because, well, one, we had applied of a long-term business that was associated with our airport for a long period of time, and due to circumstances out of our control, it's no longer existing how it was. I think this should be a flow-on effect for our business unit being the airport. If this is a successful part of advertising, that it's going to benefit us in the long run. That's why I'll be supporting it.
Okay, Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak against the motion?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, my concerns are I would have liked to have seen this left until we get some sort of clarity about the extra cheaper flights on each seats on each flight. Constantly have been hearing up until now that they're not getting the three. So I'm not really sure what's behind it. If we can't get three, we're getting stories of the bulk bookings and that knocking them all out. So I would have liked to have seen that introduced first, at least, before we went any further with this.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak for the motion or against? Okay, I'll sum up.
Sorry.
Yep, please go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
I'll be speaking against this. Similar to the points that Councillor Hancock has raised and Councillor Taylor, I can't support the use of ratepayers' money in promoting a business. Whilst it is a small amount in comparison to the overall cost of running council, etc., it's the principle of it. And on that basis, I just cannot support us allocating money to this. There will be no return to council whilst there is a partnership agreement in place because we're capped at 43,500 passengers per year in terms of the ability to generate revenue. So anything above that, there is no net gain to the running of the airport and therefore the business unit that is owned by the people of the Maranoa. And so I just cannot and won't be supporting this resolution today.
Can I just ask a question?
Please go ahead.
When we're saying private, are we talking both people in this, Maranoa Travel and Rex, or is it?
Well, that was individual councillors speaking about it.
Because they're both the same. They're both. Well, I just want to know which one you were aiming it at.
Well, that's in for the individual councillor. I'll sum up then, if no one else wishes to speak. I never, ever put my personal opinions above what the community needs. And it came very loud and clear that community consultation is that they wanted affordable airfares. This deal is historic in providing that, and this motion is not focused on supporting any private business. It's actually focused on supporting council's own airfares. The council airfares are Maranoa Regional Council airfares. We are supporting our own airfares. We are supporting for the first time having a small business fare and also guaranteed numbers on average over a month for the residence fares. So I will never put my personal view above the view of the general people of the Maranoa, and I will always put them first, and I will be supporting this motion. And I urge councillors to put all of the people of the Maranoa first I do believe that the airport has had some very high costs in the past, and I do believe that the number one issue is getting the flying public of the Maranoa connecting with families, and I think this motion also is about being able to deliver on affordable airfares and getting the message out and how to find them and how to get on with connecting with family, business, and all of the things that we do in the Maranoa. So on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
All those against?
Yes.
5-4 if I can call for a division. Okay, is there any further business, councillors? Then I'll close the meeting at 5:12 p.m. and thank you for your attendance.
And just before you head off,